Here we go. 5, 4,
3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go. I can't believe it's taken me this long to make that reference. That's wild.
No, Jasper, this is the sports episode. We have to be cool.
Oh, shit. Sorry, I meant throw the pig.
Toss it.
Toss. Oh, that's it. Toss the pig.
The pig. That's the pig.
I don't know. That's what you call it. Isn't it the pigskin?
The pigskin, but not the pig.
No, just throw policeman. That's what I meant.
Oi, bruv. Hello.
You can't start with that energy and not expect me to respond until you introduce me.
I did it intentionally. Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Games and Feelings, an advice show about playing games, being human, and dealing with the fact that those games involve other humans. Oops, all sports edition.
Yes! I'm so excited to bro out right now.
Just bro out. We're going to be so much more accepting than the nerds that are usually on this podcast.
Yep.
That's where we're at. The sports guys are nicer.
That's exactly where we're at.
We're even more welcoming than we were before. I'm your host and question keeper, get it? Keeper like in soccer, Eric Silver. And if I could name a minor league sports team for my hometown, it would be the Golden's Bridge Swarm. I'm from a small town in upstate New York called Golden's Bridge, and I really love a singular group of things name, like the Heat, so the Swarm, and also because there was a major train line that went through my hometown. Swarm could also be like a crowd of people trying to get on a train. So you can imagine.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah,
that's exactly why they called. That's why they called it the Swarm.
Yeah,
right?
That's why they call it the Swarm. So like our kit, we could have like a special kit or uniform night that's like has all the people on it, or it's like a lot of train.
Or it should be like everyone has a crowd of people, and then one of the players has like a train on it, and it's like everyone. Then they all can come together for a picture, and it looks like two sides of the platform trying to get on one train. I actually think I've just invented something revolutionary.
That would be cool.
Jerseys.
I think that would be really cool. I mean,
should be
if
making
it was like
art with our tops. That would be great.
Oh, of course. I think that so many sports have like one specific dude who's different. So if this was hockey or baseball or soccer, then we could definitely have that happen. Like, imagine a keeper's uniform that's a train.
Got the train on it.
That'd be so scary.
It'd be so cool. I love it. I love it so much.
Oi, bruv, Jasper Cartwright. If you could make a minor league or lower tier football team named after your hometown, what would it be?
I'd call it the Horsham Horses.
Nice.
Because, fun fact about Horsham, which is where I grew up, it is almost exactly in between London and Brighton. Back in ye olden times, Horsham was a little stop that you would stop at, rest the night, and rest your horses if you were traveling between these two places. So that's why it became Horsham, because that's where everyone stopped with their horses. So I'd call it the Horsham Horses. Boom, mic drop.
I like that. I wonder if you guys could be like the innkeepers.
Oh, the innkeepers. That's even better.
Right.
The problem is that I'm not in that, like, even calling the Horsham Horses felt too much. Like, in the UK, we look over the naming convention for your sports teams in the US, and we think you're insane.
Can I ask you some questions about
this? The Heat, like all of it. It's like, what are you saying? Like, it's insane. Like, just where are you from? That's your name. Why are you the Colts?
Well,
What do you mean, the Colts?
Can I ask you a question? Because this popped up recently.
Is there a New Jersey Buttons? Like, when are we gonna stop?
As a new fan of the New Jersey Devils, you bite your tongue, Jasper. Can I ask you a question? This actually popped up because
please.
We're recording this a few weeks ahead, but Messi is now going to play in the MLS.
I can't believe that it's finally happened. Congratulations to the MLS. Your lives are about to change.
It really is just like what happens in the MLS Major League Soccer, where the most popular guy who's kind of old now, like who is the absolute shining star goat of soccer, is coming over to the MLS once he's old.
But I want you to know, though, that Lionel Messi old is 3 times as good as anyone else in your league currently.
No, that's 100% true. But David
so
Beckham.
good.
But Beckham did it. Like, I mean, Pele did it notoriously in the 70s. Coming over for the New York Cosmos was kind of kicked off American soccer in so many different ways.
Zlatan did it and came back.
Zlatan was too busy like headbutting
did it, was
dudes.
like, I've completed it. Went back to Europe.
Too busy being rich and good. I'm done with this.
I'm done with this.
Well, the whole thing about this, again, for context, imagine LeBron James is like, I'm done with the NBA. I'm going to go to a place where a burgeoning place where they love basketball. I'm going to China. In that kind of way. And it's LeBron right now. Even he's going to be so much better than everyone else. He's older and he's still like the most famous person, but he's like, I'm going to go to a different country that likes this also.
Have you seen the reports about the contract?
Yeah. Oh, it's that he gets a cut.
So some of his money is coming directly from Apple.
Yeah. Because Apple TV is showing MLS games, right?
Yes, Apple TV. And so he gets a cut of the revenue of games like into Miami and like other MLS games. Apparently, he gets a cut of every single jersey sold.
Yes, he gets a cut of Adidas. He gets an Adidas cut. It's crazy.
He gets an Adidas cut. He also, apparently, every single MLS franchise has paid in to make this happen.
Yeah.
Which means every other team has been like, look, we know that this basically guarantees you a win next year, probably the year after, but we're going to pay because it means everyone gets richer. And when he retires, he will have the option or the opportunity to potentially buy an MLS franchise.
That all makes sense to me, though. Like, honestly, that's not so wild because he's going to single-handedly prop up the entire league.
Oh, for sure. I think, don't get me wrong, it makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. And hey, look, Messi, get your money. Yeah. Like, I'm proud of you, dude.
For those of you who don't know,
it.
he is so famous. He's so famous.
I genuinely don't think it's an exaggeration to say that in at least 2 continents, Lionel Messi is viewed as a godlike figure.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm saying it's like that level of like, it's not like famous, like, oh, we love him. I'm talking, imagine the dude from Avatar foaming at the mouth and passing out. That's the reaction that Lionel Messi would invoke in South America and most parts of Europe. Like, I would freak out. Like, there isn't many people, like, I don't really get starstruck anymore. I would freak out if I met Lionel Messi. Yeah. He is arguably the greatest of all time, and that's not an exaggeration. This dude changed the game, and he is unbelievably good.
It's so funny. There's so few people who are so definitive in American sport. Because I think because Americans also love arguing about who's the best in such a way that it doesn't even matter. Like, because, you know, especially with like LeBron James, Michael Jordan conversation, like, who cares? They totally different times.
I have a question. I have a question for you.
Right.
Do you think there is something to do with the fact that American sports are almost like rooted in more of a statistical kind of analytical approach? Like even like the foundations of how the games are played are kind of rooted in that stats. You know what I mean? So like with quarterbacks or with like, you know, basketball players, it's like we can very much point to like how many 3-pointers did they hit? How many, you know what I mean? Like how many free throws did they miss? How many, do you know what I mean? It's like you can, whereas I feel like with Messi and Ronaldo and kind of like greats of the past, because football, it is, you can obviously do the stats, you can look at it Moneyball wise and whatever, but like ultimately it's this, I don't know, it's like, it's very free flowing and it's slightly more objective. I feel like that's what's led to it being less of a debate about like, oh, well, clearly we can see X and Y. It's just like people just admire just watching this dude play. It's like no one else plays like Messi. It's like watching, you know, a bird in flight. It's just like, what? Like, and I'm sure that there are players like that in American sports, but I feel like maybe they don't get looked at in the same way, maybe the way they should, because there is this like very analytical approach. Would you agree?
Interesting. I think there are 2 separate things. One, it is if someone takes over a soccer game, and I'm going to keep saying soccer because I think we will end up talking about football. So, so I want to just keep that definitive. When we're talking about soccer, if someone takes over the game, that person is definitively the best person. And even if you're the best person on the pitch, you are still probably not taking over the game. So yes, you're 100. It is so definitive if someone is single-handedly winning a game for a
Games.
team, especially because of how low scoring it is, and yes, the flow and the beautiful game. The other thing, and to what you said about stats, especially, I mean, here's the thing about stats is like baseball and football are like each person is doing something individually that's happening at the same time, so which then created the statistical like analysis. In response, though, I think that some people are like, get these fucking nerds out of my sport, and then it becomes like people who are like a bicameral system where it's like people who are just on gut and feeling as opposed to people who are just in their own brain. So yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Like both that and the response and the backlash to that, which is very American, I would think.
Yeah, well, I was just kind of interested, especially being on this show, talking about games and feelings, which is that, like, I've had a few Americans now go to, like, I've been to a couple football games, soccer games, with Americans who've come over, and said, like, dude, I really want to go see a game in the, like, Premier League or whatever, and we've gone and seen and they've commented how, like, the atmosphere is different.
Yeah.
And I wonder if I just feel like football is a very, like, feeling based sport, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
there's a lot of things which are like coaches and things, even at the top level of the game, will say this isn't quantifiable. Like, these few things that will lead to the best team in the world suddenly collapsing and getting beaten by a minnow isn't quantifiable because we had all the possession, we had all the shots, we had all the, do you know what I mean? But it just didn't result in the win or whatever it is.
I want to put a pin in that as an example.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't recently like Brazil get absolutely shellacked in the World Cup?
Yeah, they got beaten Argentina got beaten by Saudi Arabia.
That's what I'm thinking about, yes.
Right at the beginning of the World Cup. And then Argentina went on to win the damn competition.
Right. And it's the thing also about like when you're talking about the World Cup, the best players from countries. Like, we're not even talking about draft distribution. The best players from countries then might get destroyed by a smaller country that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. And again, it's about like, that team, the Argentina team was growing into the tournament. They had a bit of a changing of the old guard. They brought in a lot of new players, and everyone was kind of like, they have all the talent, but like, they just look like a bit of a mess. And this peppy little Saudi Arabian team was like, we're going to kill for each other. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they won the game. And then Argentina was like, okay, I think this didn't work and this didn't work. And then suddenly they were just like, oh, we're incredible now.
Yeah.
And so it was fine. But that kind of thing is like unquantifiable. There's no metric for it, which I think is what leads it to be kind of a very feelings-based game, which I think is one of the reasons why I love it and think it's the best sport in the world. But
I agree. Can I ask you the question I was going to ask before we ended up talking about all this? About the team names. The whole thing I was going to say about Messi is that now he's coming to a team called Inter Miami, which means nothing. Can you explain the names? Inter and United and all of these like really super well-known soccer team names. I have no idea what it's about, and it's so funny that like MLS teams, American soccer teams are like, oh, we're just gonna grab that when that means absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So I see, that's actually kind of hilarious because I said that about you, and then I realized we have Tottenham Hotspur. Bear in mind, I hate Tottenham Hotspur, and I think that it's a dumb name, so it's fine.
Like Hotspur was just like someone's last name, right?
Yeah, surely. Right?
Hilarious. Lord Hotspur. I'm guessing, but that's like 80% what it is, right? Yeah.
That's almost certainly what it is. So I know with like United is an old one, which was like a, like we're a team that is united. Like that's the basis of it. Like there's nothing deeper than that, but it's just been around for like hundreds of years, like that we call teams united.
Yeah. We're all friends, and we all went to work together at the mine, and now we're all playing on the pitch together.
I am actually going to look up. So basically, there is a club called Inter Milan, and then there is also AC Milan. Now, they actually share a football team.
That's
I'm
wild.
pretty sure that. Okay, so AC Milan stands for Associazione Calcio Milan, which I actually have no idea what that means. I'm assuming it means like Club Milan.
It all just means it's all just football club. Like everyone's just FC.
Yeah, everything is effectively FC. Yeah. What is horrible? So Inter Milan is one of the most historied and famous clubs now. If you type Inter into Google, Inter Milan comes up first.
Instead of like Interpol or International.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay, so Inter actually is a shortened version of Internazionale, which means it's like International Milan.
So imagine MLS team in Miami.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about
Internazionale Miami. It just doesn't sound the same.
Yeah, we're talking about the large Cuban population in Miami, of course, and then also Messi,
Obviously.
who is now there. That's what makes it Internazionale.
That's what that is. But yeah, so there's a lot of historied reasons as to why we have these slightly strange names that everyone seems to share, because they do share them a lot. And actually, I've got to very quickly, and then we can get onto questions and games that are giving us feelings and everything. I want to say Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney might be evil geniuses who will run the world in a few years' time, because their most recent marketing campaigns are absolutely unbelievable. So Ryan Reynolds, a couple of minutes ago, as of the time of recording this, tweeted a picture which said Wrexham United on it. And the storm that this brewed up, because people thought that they were changing the name to Wrexham United.
Oh my God.
And everyone lost their minds. Everyone was tweeting like whatever. And then 15 minutes after posting that original one, they posted a video of them being like, hey, or like a fully produced video of being like, oh, I'm so sorry, everyone. I just want to clarify, we're not changing the name. We missed an ampersand. It should have said Wrexham and United because they're our new shirt sponsor. And I was like, you fucking geniuses. Like, this is scary how well you know your audience, because the football Twitter was like, what the hell is this? They were ready to go and fly to America to try and find like Ryan Reynolds. And
I'm convinced Ryan Reynolds was created in a lab to be like popular.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything going on behind the eyes. And this is from someone, I've seen the movie Waiting from like 15 years ago a bunch of times. I just don't think there's anything going on behind the eyes.
I think it's that, or he unzips himself and he is actually a lizard person who is perfectly designed to make you buy things. Like, he was created in a lab to make you want to buy things.
He zips it off and
so marketable, it's ridiculous.
He zips off his skin suit and it's like the frozen head of Walt Disney on a robot body. Yeah.
And he's powered by Coca-Cola. You have to pour Coca-Cola like, into him.
The most American
to keep him
drink.
Going.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say is Real Salt Lake City. All right, let's keep moving.
That would be ridiculous.
That exists. That's real, Jasper.
No,
That's
no,
real.
it's not.
Do you remember
No,
when
it's not.
Remember when we talked about
yes,
Utah
I remember.
sports teams? Their MLS team is called Real Salt Lake. That's real.
It is actually called Real Salt Lake.
Yeah.
That is incredible. Wow. I don't think I processed that properly, and I should have done, and I'm sorry for not doing so.
And listen, we also have, it's so funny. Yeah, soccer teams are also, they're all the same. They're Inter and Real and FC. And then we have the New York Red Bulls, fully sponsored by Red Bull. That's just how we do it.
There's two clubs in Europe that are quite big, prestigious clubs.
Yeah.
There's RB Leipzig and RB Salzburg.
Yeah, wouldn't you rather be the Swarm, the Heat, the Colts? You don't want to be the Colts?
No.
That's fine.
No, I can't be RB Arsenal. I'd throw myself over a bridge or something. That'd be horrendous. I don't want to do that.
That's true.
I don't want.
I mean, shout out to hockey, which we're just a bunch of dudes hanging out. We have the Toronto Maple Leafs, Leafs, not leaves, Leafs. And of course,
that's wild. They spelt it Leafs.
And of course, the original, one of the almost like probably the first team. I know it was the original 6, but I feel like these guys made it first. The Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens.
Oh, the Canadiens? Wild. That, like, I saw the spelling of that and was like, what? Have they misspelled?
Yeah.
What? What's going on? Like, that's not how you spell Canadians.
Yeah.
What?
You can tell which ones are like new teams and which ones are old teams. Jasper, which one do you think is new or old? The Montreal Canadiens or the Minnesota Wild? Which one do you think is a new team?
Wild! The Minnesota Wild.
The Minnesota Wild, yeah.
Just, again, singular, Wild.
I love those. That's my favorite. I love singular team names. I think it's great. All right, Jasper, let's quickly do some games that are giving us feelings, bruv, because we have a lot of really good questions about sports. Thank you to everybody who's been submitting over
Yes,
at
thank you.
gamesandfeelings.com/questions. Remember, you can submit questions all the time. We were asking for specific sports ones. We're going to do some games that are giving us feelings really quickly. Jasper, it's June, which means that the dog days of baseball are coming, but really, my favorite thing is coming, which is off-season basketball.
Okay.
You know, I love watching basketball. It's my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court. The playoffs is when everyone turns it up. Like, it's been really wonderful seeing, players play to their highest ability, even though my beloved Boston Celtics got owned in the Eastern Conference Finals. But big Nikola Jokic is making everybody look weird. He's 300 pounds. He's like a bear. He can pass like a point guard, and he's like a 300-pound Serbian man. It's wonderful. He's delightful.
Wow, that's fun, right?
Yeah, Denver Nuggets, baby. Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets, also a great team name. But the thing is that the drama, Jasper, all of the drama happens in the off season because these guys are famous and they love beefing and they have a phone and they have nothing better to do. And I'm not just talking about like the young guys coming in, like the 22-year-olds or whatever. I mean, these things keep happening. Like future superstar Zion Williamson. It just came out recently that like he got like a porn star pregnant instead of his girlfriend. That was wild.
You said instead of like it was an accident.
It sounded like it was an accident the way that they're spinning it.
What?
And of course, we're all incredibly excited for Victor Wembanyama to come in, who's like 7 feet tall and also can play like a point guard, and he's French, so like no one really knows. Like he's like not played in traditional American sports. He's just like played like internationally, and everyone's like, oh my God, this guy's gonna take over the league. But all of the drama starts, especially with LeBron James, who's just his own drama field inside of his own self. Immediately, Jasper, I got to tell you this. Immediately after the Lakers lost to the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, and the Nuggets they haven't won yet, but I'm assuming they're going to win the NBA championship. Immediately after, not so that maybe to take away from the fact that the Nuggets are celebrating, LeBron's like, yeah, I might retire. I don't know. And then he just left. So then everyone just kept talking about him instead of the fact that the Nuggets won the Western Conference Finals.
Be that petty.
He's also filming a documentary at the same time. I think. Did you watch The Last Dance? Do you know about The Last Dance?
Yeah, of course. Dude, that was huge over here, yeah.
Okay, it was huge everywhere, but so the big documentary that came out in 2020 about Michael Jordan and the Bulls that won all of those NBA championships, I think it broke LeBron's brain, and now he's like filming his own documentary, and he has been for the last 2 years, and so I think that's really getting to him. Here's the thing. The drama just keeps happening. I'm so excited about all of it. This all comes back to 2018, which I think kicked off the drama and that everyone is so messy in the NBA. During the NBA Finals in 2018, Jasper, it was revealed in an extensive report by TheRinger.com that team president Brian Colangelo of the 76ers, the Philadelphia 76ers, Brian Colangelo, again, as team president, he was like old white guy. He's not the general manager. He didn't like run the team, but he was like head of operations, like very much in the admin side. It was revealed he had burner Twitter accounts talking about how great he was and how bad some of the mistakes happened.
No.
Yeah.
That's
it was
incredible.
Huge. And I think it's like that was like the singularity event. Ever since then, or at least for as long as I can remember, the NBA has become like the most drama-filled league, especially over the offseason. And it's so funny how this overlaps with the NBA Finals. Is like here in June, the NBA Finals, because the majority of the playoffs of the NBA happen in May, and then a little bit spills over to June at the end. And then everyone goes crazy.
Yeah.
So ever since then, off-season NBA, I love it.
Off-season NBA. That's to be honest, that sounds like the kind of drama I can get behind. So I'm also gonna have to check this out.
I'll keep following up with you. I'll keep telling you the good stories.
Yeah. Keep filling me in with stuff because I think that's that sounds very fun. I actually was gonna do something slightly different,
please,
but I actually am gonna now take the time to tell you about some drama that's been happening in the football world, which was some Game of Thrones level shit. that happened. So basically, and I think what happened is it was a bit of a backfire, if you will. And so the feeling it's giving me is joy.
Okay.
Because what happened was, going into the last game of the season, Bayern Munich were going for their 11th straight Bundesliga title. But
is Bundesliga, just to clarify for the people who are listening,
is the German league.
And it's also very good.
It's very, very good. Yeah.
Like Premier League is like one, but there's still like I know the Italian league's pretty good too.
Yeah, I'd say the current kind of like ordering, I would say, is probably like the English Premier League. Then I would say the Italian league is probably this year has probably come up because it's actually like super competitive right now and their teams are doing really well in the Champions League. Then I'd say it's the German league. Then probably... Oh, wait, actually, what we're talking about, it'd be the Spanish league then.
Sure.
Then it would probably go down into the order that I just said, so Italian, German.
But still, really, that means it's good.
It's still up there. It's still very much up there. But anyway, it was going to be it was very exciting because Borussia Dortmund, who are like the only other kind of like super big team who has any chance of really winning the Bundesliga title, all they had to do on the last day was win their game. And they were going to be champions. Because Borussia Dortmund, for anyone who doesn't know, this incredibly well-run team who basically have a track record of like selling their best players for obscene profits. They've made like over £1 billion worth of profit or something over the last like 10 years in selling players.
We haven't talked about this before. You can just sell players in football. That's crazy.
Yeah, we don't mess around with this drafting nonsense. It's just like, hey, I have a contract with this player. You can buy that contract effectively and have him on your team if you give me like £50 million or something.
I mean, I think you have to do it because of the fact that you're crossing league lines so often. Like going from the Spanish league, like Italian league to Premier League to MLS to like you can just go. I mean, you have to do it that way.
Yeah. Unless someone's at the end of their contract in which they can go for free. That's what happened with Messi going to Inter Miami, because there's probably no amount of money that PSG would have accepted for Lionel Messi, but he just ran his contract down and didn't sign a new one.
Got it.
So Dortmund are this like really amazing team who kind of get in like a crop of good players and they play together for a couple of years and they all get picked apart, which is what's going to happen this summer. And they got themselves all the way to the final day. And now I think that Bayern, who are this like mega super club in the German league, they win it every single year. No one else comes close. Sometimes someone else wins one of the cups, but generally Bayern always win. Like I said, this would be their 11th straight win. Anyway, skip forward, but Dortmund shoot themselves in the foot by playing terribly the first half. They lose the game 2-1. Bayern get a last-minute penalty to win their game. They become champions of the Bundesliga, and 10 minutes after the final whistle is blown, it is revealed there has been a boardroom coup and the two highest ranking people at Bayern Munich have been sacked and were banned from being at the stadium to celebrate with the players. I was like, what? Like it was like just the juiciest, craziest Game of Thrones shit ever. Now, I genuinely believe they set it up to do this because they thought they were cooked. Mainz, Dortmund were playing Mainz, and Mainz have been terrible. They've lost their last 4 games in a row. There's no universe in which Bayern thought that Dortmund were going to lose that game. They thought, okay, we're not going to win this Bundesliga title, so we're going to have this whole story break 5 minutes or whatever after the final whistle, and then they won it, and whilst their players are on the pitch showering each other with beer, it turns out that there is a literal boardroom coup happening, and it was incredible, absolutely incredible. One of the Oliver Kahn, who's this incredibly famous German footballer, retired, who was the chief executive, who was one of the people that got fired, starts tweeting a tirade of like, they won't let me in, they won't let me celebrate. And it was just like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? This is crazy. Like, this is absolutely crazy. So just all the drama over in Germany, it made me instantly happy again after being so sad that Dortmund had lost. Immediately I was like, well, this serves you right. This serves you right, Bayern Munich. You stole your own thunder.
That's so
Only
funny.
Bayern Munich could steal their own thunder. It was incredible.
You know, this is also, I think there is a question about this, so I want to hold this a little bit, but like the business, there's something about the business stuff that happens in sports that activates the same, like, I think the same true crime part of other people's brains.
Sure.
Just like the drama, real drama happening to real people. It's not metaphorical like sports is. It's like actual. It's literal and literal drama. And I love this shit. It's humans. Corporations and business are just humans bumping up into each other in the most kind of like straightforward thing that humans do. And I love it too. I love this so much.
And I think there's something about like the pressure cooker of sports as well. Like the fact that it's such like this impassioned, it's like all the things that you shouldn't have in your like, you know, multi-billion-dollar business. You shouldn't have a bunch of emotional dudes making decisions because they're sad about something. Like that should not be how it works, but that's exactly how this is run. Like it's a lot of people who just lost and go, well, fuck it, you're fired, and like I'm gonna buy Lionel Messi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa, what are you doing? This makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the thing that made everyone love Succession so much. Is like, oh no, business is not cold and calculated. It's all about feelings, and we love watching that.
And I guess what it is with sports is that we get to see that played out in public, whereas like we don't get to see these meltdowns at the top of Disney. We know they happen, but like we don't get to see them. Whereas with sports, we literally get to watch them like on the touchline. You know what I mean? You'll see someone just losing their mind. You're like, oh, he's getting himself fired.
Right.
If you ever, this is a big recommendation. If you ever want to see just one of the most incredible interviews I've ever seen in my life, watch Antonio Conte talk about Tottenham Hotspur. It was a couple weeks ago. He was basically had been trying to get himself fired from this job for a couple of weeks because he has a bit of a track record of like he gets so far with the team and basically he'll start to like the results will start to go badly and there'll be all these reports coming out about how he's not getting along with the board, and then he gets fired and he gets a huge payout. So obviously he didn't want to leave because he wouldn't get his money. He wouldn't get like his like severance package or whatever. So he was trying to get himself fired. And he does this incredible rant. And he's like basically talking about how like Tottenham never win anything. The reason they never win anything is like, oh, well, this board, they've been in charge and they've never won it. Since they've been in charge, they've never won anything. And the players are always the same, but he's losing his mind in this like high-pitched Italian accent where he's like, the players, why is nobody blaming the players? And it's just incredible to watch this man lose his mind live on TV and just feel the whole world being like, the whole footballing world just pulled up a seat really quietly and just handed popcorn to each other. And just like, it was just like, what the fuck is happening? This is amazing. He's losing his mind.
I love that. I'm going to include, I found an article from ESPN describing the whole thing for Americans. So I will include that link in the episode description.
Please do. It's a great watch.
Man, I feel like we could make the whole episode about this. So I'm going to say this so quickly before we end up going to the questions. There's something about football, soccer, that is tied to, because, you know, Americans love thinking that they have like city identity and the teams are tied to that. But it is kind of funny that like there are some cities that have like 3 pro sports teams and they're like a football town or a baseball town or a hockey town.
Yeah,
but like
true.
In European countries and in cities, small cities, towns, honestly, they have their own soccer club, and that's all they have. So it's so tied to your hometown identity. On top of that, we have the World Cup, which is literally tied to how you feel about yourself as a countryman. So I think that makes everything extra funny, especially when you're talking about business stuff. Because it's one thing when, like, I don't know, in the NBA or the NFL, where it is like athletes are themselves. They're like like, you know, LeBron, he can say that he went to Cleveland because he's from there and he wanted to bring them a title, but like he also went to Miami. He's in Los Angeles, blah 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 blah. But it's like it's really funny that an Italian man comes in and yells about Tottenham, and is like, and then everyone in that city is like, "Fuck you, you, that's my house."
Every single person, like, it's amazing. Go and watch the Napoli celebration. They won their first title in like 30 or something years. Napoli exploded. There was reports of like people not showing up for work for like 2 weeks, like after they won. Like it was
the first thing I googled Napoli celebration, and the first thing was fireworks.
yeah. It's like it was honestly like Napoli just went wild because there's so much of their identity is tied up within their sports team, and they just won the Italian league for the first time in a while. So good example.
Incredible. And then imagine we just had like 2-hour conversation with multiple PhDs and doctorates about why everyone is black on the French national team.
That's a full conversation that I don't think I have the wherewithal to have.
We had
now.
professors come in, we had doctorate candidates come in, we had that conversation. It was great.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to stop throwing out things for people to watch, but like this is the last one, I promise.
Please.
Find the video of the French national team parading the World Cup around the Olympic Stadium in Paris. It is the hypest shit you will ever watch in your life. Basically, this French rapper made a song about like the first team players of the French national team, and they all sing it as they're going round the stadium, and the whole stadium is singing along, and it's just like it's mind-blowingly hype. Like you're sat there just like, like doing kind of stank face the whole time, just like, oh my god, this is so good. It's amazing. Like, please watch it. I will just occasionally watch it from time to time and be like, this is awesome.
That's sick. That's absolutely sick. Okay.
I also then laughing about the fact that imagine if we tried to do that in England, like Stormzy doing a rap whilst like we would get lampooned. We would lampoon our own players. We'd be like, what are you doing?
It would be funny.
Like, who do you think you are? But it's only because the entire French national team is black that they got away with it.
Yeah, totally. And
they all are.
I'm sure France did that. You know, it was homegrown and has nothing to do with their colonial history. I think
No. They just welcome a lot of people from Africa. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, they were just like, come on in. It's fine. For no reason.
Famously, every country just goes, come on in. It's fine.
Come on in. The nationalism's fine. It's warm. Come on in.
It's warm. Here, have some jam on bread.
No, we have baguettes here. How do you make bread? Stupid.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah,
Angiero? I don't even know what that is. It's a baguette. It's right here. Hey, it's Eric, and I got you Sunny D. There's the standard in the big orange bottles, and I also got some hard Sunny D in cans. 2023 is wild. Everything is a hard seltzer. This podcast is even a hard seltzer. Please support this wonderful independent content and the other wonderful things that we make here at Games and Feelings, and join the Patreon, patreon.com/gamesandfeelings. I hope you're liking the ad-free episodes, and if you're like, what? Ad-free episodes? Go check it out. Patreon.com/gamesandfeelings. Also, shout out to producer level patrons, Polly Burge, Kelsey Duffy, and Peyton, who send you fun TikToks made by employees at game stores. There's a lot of them. They're fun. Patreon.com/gamesandfeelings. It is a beautiful, wonderful day to try another show from the Multitude Podcast Collective. You're probably going to like Join the Party, an actual play podcast with tangible worlds, genre-pushing storytelling, and collaborators who make each other laugh every week. Me, DM Eric, and the emphatic players Amanda, Brandon, and Julia bring everyone into the table, from long-time tabletop RPG players to folks who've never touched a role-playing game before. Hop into our current campaign, a pirate story set in a world of plant and bug people, or marathon our completed stories with a campaign, a Monster of the Week game set in a weird and wild summer camp, Campaign 2 for a modern superhero game, and Campaign 1 for a high fantasy story. I know I talk about it a lot, but I really feel like I'm DMing at the top of my game right now. It's a lot of fun. Join the Party is really, really great. So pull up a chair and join the party. Get it? Search for Join the Party in your podcast app, or go to jointhepartypod.com. We are sponsored this week by the Volari Gamer Pillow. That's right, gamers. This is a pillow designed to support your hands, forearms, and elbows, thus reducing the strain from your shoulders and neck while you play and you do the gamer hunch. It promotes better posture, prevents the discomfort commonly associated with extended gaming sessions like sore neck, shoulders, and back pain. And truly, as someone 32, I can tell you I 100% get back pain for playing games too long. This is honestly a wonderful solution. Well, perfect for gaming, the Volare pillow can be used for various activities, working from home, working on a laptop, working on a tablet, reading, watching movies, or just relaxing and maxing real cool. It's handcrafted with high-quality materials, premium suede-like covers, and carefully selected filling. The Volare pillow is a plush and durable surface that enhances your gaming comfort. Honestly, I have one. It's really great, and it seems really, really big, but then you can twist it together and clip it down so you can make it kind of small, and it looks really, really cute on your couch. If this sounds interesting to you, if you think this is going to solve your older gamer worries, then I have the discount for you. Use code GF10 at checkout for 10% off your order at volari.gg. That's VALARI.GG, like good game, and use code GF10 for 10% off your order. And now, back to the show. All right, Jasper. We have some questions here all about sports.
Yes.
I think that we're going to hop into these questions. The first one is kind of about an athletic hobby, and then we'll kind of get into the stuff that we touched on in the beginning of the episode and some more specific pro sports questions. This one is from Ice Climber. Pronoun she, her. My husband and I have gotten really into bouldering over the last 6 months. For those of you who don't know, bouldering is like rock climbing, but it's really short, and so you don't need like an apparatus.
Yeah, you just got like a mat below you, and yeah.
We're trying to get our friends on board with the hobby, but we found that even if they buy the shoes and come semi-regularly to the gym, they aren't as intoxicated by the sport as we are. This results in minimal progress for them, and eventually they quit. I feel like our friends are becoming discouraged because they're climbing at a lower level than my husband and I. We aren't mean to them about it because games are supposed to be fun. Good job. And we try to be encouraging and give advice and try to share stories about how we felt and when we first started. However, I know that sometimes I feel discouraged when I see more advanced climbers, and I sometimes get upset when I get unsolicited advice. So I imagine our friends kind of feel the same way. My question is, how do you help friends who are interested in your skill-based hobby catch up to your level without being annoying or giving too much advice?
Ooh, interesting. My instinct is telling me, like, you need to find a way to have them discover the hobby on their own. Because that's how you discovered it, right? Like, the chances are that, like, you discovered it because it's like maybe a friend took you along once and then you're like, oh, I'm going to go back. Because I feel like you have to kind of do it of your own volition. If you're always the one bugging them about going, like, I feel like that would I'd just probably be like, yeah, this is kind of just a bit of a drag and I don't really enjoy it as much. And do you know what I mean? But it is tricky.
I didn't know you had to buy shoes. I guess that makes sense to me. But like, because that's such a bummer. And I bet they're like $70. You know?
Yeah, they're definitely way too expensive for shoes that you're only going to wear doing this very specific task.
Yeah. Bouldering is also very fun. I think it's cool. A lot of people like climbing up stuff without any apparatus attached to them. But it's like you got to go to a climbing gym. And again, I live in not a car city, so it's like I got to walk to that, and it's like 30 minutes away and in a weird spot. So I guess if I drove there, maybe it'll be different. But like you got to go to a very specific place to do this specific thing. The thing which I think is interesting about this question is that this is a sport or an athletic activity that's not a team sport. It's a lot of people doing individual stuff side by side, which I think makes it a little more frustrating. And like, I appreciate that you identified that you're being annoying because I think you might be putting it on a little too thick.
Yeah. That was what I was thinking. I was like, it's coming across a little bit like, hey, friends, come do this thing with me. Come do this thing. Like, and I'm like, okay, that's completely, yes, of course, you know, I want to do this stuff with you, and, you know, I'm generally like, I'll do anything like once or twice, right. But like, I actually had a very similar experience where I tried bouldering, some friends took me, I cut my hands a bunch and was just like, I did not enjoy this, like, I can see the appeal, I can see why people would enjoy this, but this is not for me, and very much got like what? You don't like that?
Right.
Like, what? And like, I feel like I have to be very conscious of this when I talk about D&D or whatever. And I'm like, oh, D&D, it's like the best, right? You played it once and now you're hooked. And they're like, nah. And I'm like, but that's not possible. You know what I mean? So like, you do have to catch yourself, you know what I mean, when you're talking about these things, because obviously you're incredibly passionate. You want other people to feel the same way that you do, which is a very like earnest thing to want. But it's just not always going to happen. Like sometimes people are going to be like, I'm good. Like, it's just not my jam. And that's totally fine.
Yeah. With a thing like an athletic activity, it's hard to be like yeah, there's a line to how encouraging you can be, because eventually they need to pick up the baton. There's nothing wrong also with you being the bouldering person. Yeah. Also, because it's an athletic activity, this is your way of moving your body. You don't necessarily need friends to get into it too. I think that if you want your friends to do something with you, think about something that's a little bit more inclusive, like watching sports together or playing a team game.
A team game
of some sort, because it's just easier to get people on board who's a beginner. And I think that these doing stuff next to each other things at different levels might not be the thing that you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can say, I just want to say, bouldering's cool, and I can see why you want people to be into it. It seems like a thing. If you connect to it, it's like, there's a place where you can climb, and you feel so strong, and you feel like you're in the air, and your legs are dangling, and I've never felt more like a powerful person, like a human using all of my muscles. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm with you. I hear why you want to bring your friend on. However, this might not be the most accessible thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's...
Was that stern but fair, Jasper? Was that tough but fair?
I think that's good. I think that's correct. I think that's the right tone to take this. I think it's okay if your friends don't get into it. It's definitely okay if your friends aren't having as much fun as you are, because, it's unlikely that they're gonna. You know what I mean? It's just unlikely that your friends are going to suddenly give it I am so all the way in just as much as you are. Let's do this twice a week. Do you know what I mean? It's probably just not going to happen, and that's okay.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ice climber, you got it. At least you have your husband to do it with you, honestly.
Yeah, you got your husband. Just make it a couples thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's good.
I totally see what you're getting with that, you want to include your friends in a thing. I don't think this thing's the thing.
Yeah.
The thing you asked a question about, skill-based hobbies, where it's individualized, that's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. All start one together where you're all the same level.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So you're all the same level, you get to figure it out all at the same time. And, you might progress faster because it sounds like, you're probably, you and your husband are pretty athletic people. So, you might well pick it up faster, but I feel like you'll be starting at the same place, which might lead to less of that, oh, I feel like we're kind of better than them, or I feel like they're getting frustrated about their lack of progress, etc. Because it's at least we've started from the same place, and their level of buy-in will be there from the beginning, rather than you sort of trying to force that level of buy-in.
I agree. Go try skee ball leagues or bowling, where at least there is ostensibly a team grouping.
Yeah, 5-a-side soccer. Do it.
All right, Jasper, I'm going to hit you with a question that is very close, near and dear to your heart. And I think that this is something that Americans feel about your favorite sport of football, of FC, of Real Salt Lake.
Inter FC, yeah. Okay.
Inter Miami, Internacional Miami.
Internacional
Yeah.
Miami.
This is from Brian from Queens. I don't want to change the name because I think it's really important to the question. Within the last few years, I've really got into football. And it's giving me feelings like no other sport. First of all, I can watch a Premier League from start to finish. It takes 2 hours, and sometimes it's only 9:30 in the morning. Since I'm American, I don't have any allegiance to a Premier League team, and I spent some time trying to figure it out. I did not want to back perennial winners and look like a frontrunner, nor did I want the fear of relegation. Especially as a lifelong New York Mets fan, I thrive in the depths of utter and complete failure with a glimmer of hope just out of reach. I wanted a team that could be good, but also blow it in the worst way possible. Maybe I wanted a team with an interesting name, a weird logo. So I went with Tottenham Hotspur. Despite only caring about football for 2 years, I was dismayed to hear Jasper supported Arsenal. So my question is, can Jasper explain his love for Arsenal and convince me that I shouldn't hold that against him? Also, American soccer needs a relegation system. It makes everything so much better and so much worse. I would like to, before we get into this person's question, how do you feel about Americans randomly adopting soccer teams?
I think it is fine. The only thing that I wish that Americans would do is realize that a lot of these clubs are steeped in kind of very a lot of tradition and history, and so there are certain clubs which might align with you more than you would think. As in, I feel and this is not a dig, because there's not this like swapping of players, like with the draft, like the draft system, I feel like sets up a very different precedent whereby like players are kind of more iconic to clubs and there's more of a kind of symbiotic relationship there. And I think that, yeah, certain clubs will have certain like history, traditions, and things like that. And so, yeah, you might find a club that really fits you.
Right.
So I would say just do a little bit of light research of like, just go on the wikis and just see when they were established and see why they're established and who they were established and what kind of things they've, like done or whatever. Like they can feel very different and unique. And so I don't necessarily mind people just adopting one because I'm aware that like, look, you don't live here, so it'd be weird for you to pick one based on where you live because that's not possible. Like, you don't live near, otherwise everyone, I guess, would pick like, I don't know, Liverpool, because it's maybe technically the closest on that side, or some southern team did Dorset.
And in reverse, I'd like to say that somehow you are a New Jersey Devils fan.
Exactly. I picked the closest team to me, which is why I picked the New Jersey Devils.
No, like most people, you went over to a dude's house and you adopted the team that he likes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's also perfectly valid. It's scrap research. If you know someone who's also into that team, I will not hold it against you to like bunk in with them, because I'm like, look, getting into a sport is kind of not much fun if you do it on your own. Like, you want to get into a sport with someone so that you can share those moments. Like, that's the joy of it, right? You can commiserate together, you can laugh together, you can celebrate together, etc. So yeah, that is also fine. So yeah, speaking of, so part of the reason why I support Arsenal, my granddad was an Arsenal fan and kind of brought me up talking a lot about Arsenal. One of the reasons why I am very passionate is that Arsenal is a very, and has always been a very kind of like accepting multicultural club. It's always done a lot for, I'm pretty sure it was the first club to field an all-black team, and it has a lot of like black legends that are in like throughout their history.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's tight.
Players like Rocky Rocastle, who did like a lot for advancing not just players and footballers, but like black people and the perception of black people in England. Ian Wright, who's again very much the same, has done a lot of work. He now does a lot of work with the women's team. Arsenal also famously invested the most out of any Premier League club in the women's teams.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And had a very dominant women's team for a very, very long time. They're still very, very good, and sort of puts a lot of money into that. And they're now doing a lot where they're like having the women's team play in the main stadium. So I think our women's team plays more games in our home stadium than any other team. And so there's always been a bit of this kind of like, we've always kind of considered, Arsenal's always considered itself to be like a very classy club that tries to do things like the right way, in quotation marks. And usually that's like a lot of community outreach. That's a lot of including the local areas, a lot of improving the local area. They did this really amazing string of adverts, which they actually got a guy who has a podcast, an Arsenal podcast, to do all the voiceovers for, called Clive, he's a bit like kind of famous in the community. And they basically had players going into local businesses around the stadium and like doing a little advert for the like this, so like a fish and chip shop just outside the stadium. They did like a full glossy advert with like two of the players like walking in and doing this really funny kind of like to and fro with the owner and all this kind of stuff. And it was just really, really cool. And like it felt amazing to see, the club go out and do that. They always support, they give a lot of money to Gay Gooners, which is like a charitable foundation, which is all about gay Arsenal fans who kind of found a community and a lot of stuff like that. And so I got into it mostly because of my granddad, but I genuinely feel a huge amount of pride supporting Arsenal because I think they do a lot of stuff, as do so many clubs. I'm not saying this is exclusively an Arsenal thing, but these are just the things that I know about and I really, enjoy. And as a person of color myself, like I grew up, my first black role models were all Arsenal players. Patrick Vieira, Thierry Henry, all these players, Kolo Touré, Sol Campbell, like there were so many of them in the team when I was growing up, and like seeing a black player at the absolute pinnacle getting paid, being this star and whatever was really impactful for me. And so that made a big, big, big difference as to like keeping my allegiance. Because I remember when I went to school, like a lot of my friends supported like Chelsea or Man United because Man United fans are like rats. You're never more than 3 meters away from one of them. They're everywhere.
True. I was vaguely a Manchester United fan because a guy I knew from like elementary school and middle school moved from the UK to where I grew up, and he was like, I like this. And I'm like, great. Okay, I guess I do too.
Eric, we can't be friends.
No, I don't. When I was like 10.
I know. I just want to clarify. I don't like Spurs. Spurs, though, are like an annoying little brother. They're not. We don't really take them seriously. Man United, is the worst.
No, I
Man
know,
United,
'cause
like I want nothing but ill.
their ownership group is in other sports. I know they're not good. They're bad. They're bad dudes.
Bad people. They're bad. They even look. Have you seen the Glazer? Like the Joel Glazer? I've never seen a more villainous looking dude in my life.
I think
like,
I went to camp with one of his
He's
nephews or something.
Wild.
Yeah. So it's like they're everywhere. They're not good people. No, they're not.
Yeah. But yeah, so I love Arsenal. It has a long storied history. It's never been relegated from the Premier League. We've always been up there doing it. We're the only team to have ever gone invincible, which is a whole season completely unbeaten. Yeah, it's just a great club. And look, listen, Brian from Queens, it's not too late. We will accept you into our breast, our bosom, with warmth, and I will send you a full PDF of pros and cons to why you should support Arsenal and you shouldn't support Spurs. I'm ready to do that. Just tell me, at me on Twitter, and I will do this for you. I will deliver you. I'm working on Jake Hurwitz. It pains me to this day that Jake supports the toilet bowl of a club, but this is just the situation that we're in. And I'm working on it. I do think he doesn't actually harbor any hatred for Arsenal, and that is also a slight problem. Like, he needs to pick a lane. And so this is why the other thing I will say, Brian from Queens, is you need to pick a lane. If you're gonna support Tottenham, you have to hate Arsenal. Yeah. If you don't, that's a problem. Like, you have to hate us. And I remember all those things I just told you about black players, supporting the community. You have to hate that, okay?
If you like the Spurs,
I'm just saying.
You also don't like that the women get to play in the same stadium.
They hate it. They hate it. And I will just say this. If you look at an aerial view of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it does look like a toilet seat, and their logo is a chicken standing on a volleyball. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say, okay? That's it. I'm done. I'm out.
No, it's beautiful. That's what I was hoping for. That's good. All right, Jasper, let's do some quick ones, yeah? All right, this one is from Soup Dumpling. Soup Dumpling is also listening to join the party. So Soup Dumpling, this is a Soup Dumplings you can now get at the stadium because there's much better food in the stadium now.
Nice.
What's the best sport to watch live? I try to plan some outings with my friends, but I just want my opinion. I love almost all sports, but they're unsure about combat juggling. That shit's cool. You should watch that. That shit's wild.
Combat juggling?
But my friends will mostly go for the in-person experience. Jasper, what's your favorite sport to watch live?
Okay, I'm going to say it depends on what kind of experience you're after. I hate cricket, but it's fantastic to watch live.
Right, but that's just that's similar to baseball in the summer.
Yeah.
It's just vibes.
Yeah.
It's just vibes.
It's just vibes. Yeah. It's just vibes. So if you want vibes, go watch cricket or something. It's great.
Same with baseball. I would say baseball when it's warm, just go for the vibes.
And then when everyone starts cheering, you look and something cool is probably happening. But the 95% of the rest of the time, it's boring. Just carry on talking to your friends and drinking. It's awesome. And like I said, the atmosphere of a football game, especially over in Europe, is just unparalleled. Like, get yourself to the Nou Camp or the Bernabeu or somewhere like that, or the Allianz Arena where Bayern play. I mean, wow, the noise and everything is just absolutely incredible. Otherwise,
did you see hockey in person?
No, I didn't see ice hockey in person. No. Unfortunately, the Knights got knocked out the week before I got to
That's
play,
right.
So there was no available. Yeah. The Knights, yeah.
In person, I would say baseball for the vibes. And then, one step below, go in person to hockey and to basketball games, but it's certainly not as fun. Hockey is really well laid out, but it's weird you're in a cold stadium. Mm-hmm. I like the cold, and I love popping on a sweatshirt, but it is really odd going into a place and I'm inside and it's 50 degrees.
It's cold.
Yeah. And basketball's a little claustrophobic sometimes because you gotta sit in your seat and then leave your seat. Mm-hmm. But you could also go see the WNBA. There are tons of tickets available. Yeah. The play is really, really good because of sexism. That's why it's not as popular. So if you have a WNBA team near you, go do that. But a lot of places have minor league baseball games, no matter where you live in the Americas. So go check that out.
I'll definitely shout out the WSL as well, the Women's Super League, because it's absolutely amazing and brilliant atmosphere, and the standard is just unbelievable. And they play a very different game. They actually kick the shit out of each other, and it's absolutely fantastic.
They really do.
In the men's game, they're roll around the floor, clutching their knees. In the women's game, they'll take each other's jaws off. And it's just Jesus.
That's true in a lot of I think what people associate with like women's college sports, like field hockey and lacrosse, the women's are way more intense than the men's. I mean, men don't play field hockey, but definitely in the different types of lacrosse. Here's another quick one. This is from Go for the Gold. How do I, as a 26-year-old person, play social sports without getting too competitive? Especially sports I played competitively as a child and teenager. Social sports seems like a good way to make friends, but no one wants to be friends with the person who takes it way too seriously or gets aggressive.
Funny. That's a really good one because that is super true. I think you got to keep the rules as loose as possible.
Yeah.
Because if you start having any kind of if you're playing American football, you have a football, you have a touchdown zone, that's it.
Right.
Don't do anything else. If you're playing soccer, have some jumpers on the ground and kick a ball in between them, that's it. Nothing else. As soon as you add any other layer of complexity, whether it be, yellow cards or a referee or first downs or anything like that, you're immediately going to get into, that's where I think the like, wait, what do you mean that's a yellow? Or what did you, like, that's where I feel like you're going to get into the super competitive nature of you is going to come out and be like, whereas if it's super loose, you just have to treat it like that. It's just super loose. Like, I don't have to worry about the rules. The rules are all a little janky. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the weird thing is, like, in America, the most competitive social sport, or not competitive, I think the most pervasive one is, like, always baseball. And that makes absolutely no sense for considering how many, like, how much equipment you need and how, like, every game, there's no way to have a loose baseball game. It's all kind of, like, regimented because it has so many rules. So it's just odd. I get it. I agree with Jasper. It needs to be casual. And there's usually if there's leagues that are put together by like adultleagues.com, they try to make it more official, but just don't. I think you just need to take the temperature. And if you know it's not competitive, you can't turn on the Jets unless you want to style on someone and make everyone think you're cool.
The only other option here is look around. Who is the most competitive person there? Dial it in just under them. If you dial it in just under them, no one will take... we only ever have the capacity to focus on one guy who's being a douche and taking it way too seriously. So just find the one guy that's like... Find Eric, who's just going a little too hot, and then dial it in right underneath him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, shout just a little bit quieter than he does, so you get to vent it out a little bit, but you don't just never go over that guy. If that guy kind of like comes up to you like, what do you mean? Like, you get to look like the big man, just back down, let that guy have it, knowing that he's also taking all the heat off of you when you punch the ground out of frustration.
Yeah. I also want to say that Go for Gold's pronouns are she, they, which is only to say that you have a lot more room. There will be a man in your co-ed league who is too intense. So I think you're going to be all right.
Yeah, just dive it in right underneath. Underneath, you got this.
My friend Nara is also in a like women's plus softball league with like anyone who's not like a cis man is kind of just like in this general league, and it seems like it's all vibes and it's cool. So again, I think that like you'll be able to really easily find the temperature. And like Nara played high school softball for a very long time, so I think that like. I think that you might be worried, but I think you can do it.
I believe in you.
Yeah. And finally, I just want to touch on something we said before because this one is from Dylan. And the nickname I'm giving to Dylan is Money, 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 question mark?
Money, 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 question mark?
Money!
Okay. Money, money, money.
Question mark.
Money!
Is front office strategy part of the game in pro sports? I love sports, but I get no joy from analyzing trades, draft picks, contracts, financial fair play rules, options, arbitration, team ownership, whatever a Rule 5 draft is, etc. Should I care as part of supporting my team? Is it part of the game? No, the nerds got their hands on it, and you can like sports however you like.
I'm just going to do another plug for football here. Come over to football because you get to enjoy what's called the transfer window. Now, the transfer window is the Wild West.
Sure.
It is absolutely crazy. There's no real math involved other than than just dumb made up maths. Like one team will just say, this person is worth £100 million. And then that guy's just worth £100 million now. There's no rhyme or reason to it. We have this thing that tracks like this sport observatory thing that apparently tracks player worth, but it means nothing. That's never what a player goes for. So it's absolutely fascinating. So check out football if you don't if you find it hard to get into, like, because I also do not understand the draft system at all. It makes zero sense to me. It's so complicated. Whereas in football, it's just like, hey, I'm going to give you a huge chunk of money and then we get that player. And the drama surrounding it is very, very, very fun. Yeah. Like players on transfer deadline day, because there's literally like a timer that ticks down to 11 p.m.
That's awesome.
And players will be driving to the training ground of the team they're hoping to join, and they'll wait for a call from their agent to say they can go in and do their medical.
That's awesome.
And like, sometimes, a lot of time, it won't happen. And so you'll just see a player just like driving away from a ground and whilst they've been plastered on the front page of Sky Sports News, there was a famous one of this guy called Peter Odemwingie who drove down to the training ground of this team he was hoping to join. The team then pivoted, signed a different player. He was sat in the car park and watched the player that they bought instead of him walk in. He's plastered on Sky Sports News, like everywhere. And then he has to go back to his old teammates and play, because I'm pretty sure this was in the January transfer window. So he had like a game with his team like the next week.
Yeah, that's tight as hell.
He was probably in training like the next day.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like this because of the intersection of American sports with workers' rights. I find it deeply interesting about like the money and this whole thing. And I understand that like we're talking about millionaires, but remember, the people who own sports teams are cajillionaires and billionaires, right?
Yeah. It's not even close.
So it's just like, I find it interesting in the numbers. I think that I could have a whole conversation about like nerds taking over everything and ruining regular people's fun, and also the pervasiveness of sports gambling that's gotten to every single crevice of sport, especially like in media. Now, like all my podcasts, all my sports, no one wants me to gamble more than my sports podcasts. It's like I have a bookie in my life.
Dude, it's a problem.
Yes.
Like when I found out why there's a bunch of Chinese writing like around all the advertising hoardings in football right now, absolutely mind-blowing. It's because you can't legally advertise gambling in China. So Chinese gambling companies are now buying spots in the Premier League because it's the most watched foreign league in China. So they buy spots and they sponsor teams so that they can put just fully Chinese adverts only appealing to Chinese people in China to then go and gamble on their stuff because they're not allowed to public. It is wild how much gambling is like a serious issue, and I definitely like 100%. A whole other side pod. Like
I don't get it, and it's like it used to be kind of like a grimy thing, at least very much in America, but now it got now that it's legalized through like FanDuel and other like online betting stuff, that like it's just everywhere. ESPN, Jasper, is like 50% gambling stats now. Like, they talk about lines constantly. They talk about the best bets and stuff. It pops up all over. Even, like, in the halftime of games, they're talking about, like, make this bet on FanDuel or some stuff. Also, like, The Ringer is totally in bed with it at the same time. It's really gross and it's really weird. So that's also part of it. But the thing is mostly about the workers' rights. Again, the drama, like we said in the beginning of the episode, the drama surrounding business in sports activates like the true crime part of my brain.
Oh, dude, I go in rabbit holes like you wouldn't believe. We joke that I have a podcast now which has an audience of one. It's just my wife. And basically it's because it's her favorite podcast because I play it for her when she goes to sleep. And when I say I play it for her, I mean I literally sit in bed and I go, that's the theme music.
And then you just tell her about sports.
It's me. And I put on this really dorky voice for some reason that's not actually my voice, where I'm just like, hey everyone, it's me, Jasper, and today I'm going to talk about Arsenal transfer targets. And it's basically just me reeling off all of this stuff that I found, and it's like, I'll go in the weeds, dude. Like, I'm out here tracking the cloud formations in the back of players' Instagram posts to see if they're in England
love that. That's
or if they're
sick.
still in France.
That's sick. I love
You know
this.
what I mean? That's the levels that we're going to. Like, Arsenal transfer watching community is We are in the trenches finding out information. It's wild.
Yeah. So, and I'll be a guest on that podcast when I visit you. I'm really excited.
Yeah, exactly. You can come listen to my bedtime podcast.
This is so great. I'm just going to sit by the side of your bed while Jade's trying to go to sleep. I'll be like, oh, great.
So
I love
normal.
this. This is wonderful.
So normal.
Hey, so happy to be
So
here. I
normal.
just want to plug my podcast games and feel like Jade's trying to sleep.
Trying to go to sleep.
So what I would say to you, money, is like, it's just another way to follow it. And if you're not into it, it's fine. And I'm sorry that the nerds who create all of the media are now, all they can do is talk about it. It's also wild because, I mean, I think that this happens the most in basketball just from the way that it's laid out. And also because, like, listen, I could spend an entire time talking about the process. Do you know about the process and Sam Hinkie?
No.
Basically, it's this mathematical thing about tanking and collecting all of these draft picks, so that draft picks potential is infinitely more valuable than actual value. Like, a draft pick is way more valuable than a player. The whole thing is to say it's just a way for people to consume it, and you don't have to worry about it. It's frustrating watching teams mortgage their future for this very specific stuff, so you can't understand why something is happening. Because again, a lot of this stuff is about chemistry just as much as it is about numbers and
100%.
future draft picks. You know, I think there's also like a thing, and we talked about this before when we were talking about Marvel movies, about how like everyone thinks they're Kevin Feige, and at the same time everyone thinks they're the GM of their favorite sports team, and they could be because they're just guys, you know, guys who know things. And I think
but just to clarify though, I could actually be the technical director of Arsenal. Like, I know enough. I just want to clarify that.
So that's why people are so into it. That's why.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be, but I know it's all over the place. I like it, and Jasper likes it, but you don't have to, I promise.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. We are about to sign Declan Rice, and it's a very exciting time to be an Arsenal fan, so you know what I mean. This is good.
And as an
Good
Arsenal fan, I'm also very excited about it.
Yes! Yes!
You convinced.
Yes, dude.
You convinced
Yes,
me.
dude. Yes, dude.
Incredible.
That's
Well, Jasper, this has been Oops All Sports. Thanks for letting us talk about sports, folks.
Thank you for the 4 people that have listened to this and who aren't like, why do I want to listen to this? I just listen for a sports
Jasper,
podcast.
I had a basketball podcast. They know. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay.
They know. It's they know. They like
Right.
it. They
There's
like
at least 6 of them.
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Okay.
Polly
Yeah,
Burridge
cool.
is 100% here. Polly's from Australia too, and Polly loved hearing me talk about the NBA. And then Polly loves one particular team in Australian rules football, and I'm like,
Oh, what
and
a
I
game.
follow her on some socials, and I'm just like, great. I'm so
should have
happy
said
for you.
that. I should have said that. Oh my god, watching Aussie rules football is absolutely incredible. I do not understand that game at all.
No, absolutely
And I've been to
not.
multiple games. It is just madness. It is just pure Australian madness. Honestly, all they need to do is throw like a big, I don't know, dangerous animal in the middle of that field, and it's just, that is Australia.
It's wild.
Like, that's the only thing that's missing from Aussie rules football, is just put a like giant red kangaroo in the middle.
There should be a Tasmanian devil in the middle of the field. That would make it a little
in the
bit
middle
better.
of the pitch.
Yeah.
Just to add some, that's the only thing that would make it more Australian. Otherwise, it is a perfect encapsulation.
It seems awesome. I just have no idea about it. I'm like, I'm so happy for you. So this is wonderful.
yeah.
Jasper, where can people now, where can people hear you talk about nerd shit instead?
Yay! You can hear me talk about nerd shit over at 3 Black Halflings. We've got loads of cool stuff going on over there, and you can follow me at JW_Cartwright. And hey, listen, I've been wanting to do a sports podcast for ages. For so long. If one person DMs me and says, hey, you should do a sports podcast, I will do
Jasper, I truly need you to stop making podcasts so you can keep
it. No! I refuse.
not new
One
ones.
of them's
Keep
gonna
doing the
work.
ones you're doing.
One of
please.
these days, one of them is going to work,
They
Eric.
do. What are you talking about? They very much work.
No, Eric. I mean, one of these days I'm going to sell out Wembley doing a podcast.
Jasper, no one
That's what I
does
mean.
that. That doesn't exist.
Yes, but I will.
my God.
But I will.
And you can listen to the other episodes that I make on other podcasts. Go listen to Join the Party and tell me about it. I think you really like it.
Woo!
Jasper, thanks for doing Oops All Sports with me.
Thank you for letting us do Oops All Sports. I've had a great
Thank
time.
you. And, bruv, there's nothing in the rule book that says a dog can't play basketball. And that dog has feelings. Dog
does.
feelings, though. Games and Feelings is produced by Eric Silver and edited and mixed by Mischa Stanton. The theme music is Return to French Toast Castle by Jeff Bryce, and the art was created by Jessica Boyd. Find transcripts for this episode and all episodes at our website, gamesandfeelings.com. Until next time, press X to enjoy the podcast.